ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमां विष्णुपादाय राधिकायै प्रियात्मने श्रीमद्भक्तिवेदान्तनारायणीति नामिने। श्रीकृष्णलीला कथने सुदक्षम् औदार्यमाधुर्यगुणैश्युक्तं वरं वरेण्यं पुरुषं महान्तं नारायणं त्वं शिरसा नमामि। First of all, offer my millions of obeisances to lotus feet of Asmati Gurupad Padma Niktila Parishta Jagat Guru Shishimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Tirandi Swami Shishimad Bhaktivedanta Dandi Maharaj Naam Nishta Santasi Aniruddha Das Prabhuji, all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, please accept my humble obeisances. So, reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita. This is actually the month in which Bhagavad Gita was manifested, and therefore lot of devotees all over the world, Hare Krishna movement devotees, are distributing the Bhagavad Gita of Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, and Sripad Dandi Maharaj also is propagating the translation of 108 verses, important verses of Bhagavad Gita in English language, Kannada language, Tamil, Telugu, Marathi, and all the world languages. I think I request all the devotees who have expertise in any particular language, please contact me. And my WhatsApp number is 9021625228. And let's get Gita 108 verses at least, important verses, translated to your mother tongue. Sometimes you may have some other, you may know some other dialect also, and you can get it translated in that language. So Bhagavad Gita, the message of Bhagavad Gita, the important 108 verses, should reach each and every house. So reading from Bhagavad Gita now, text 24, chapter 5. Yo anta sukho antar aramas tathantar jyotirevaya sayogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhuto adhigacchati yaha who anta sukha, happy within the self, anta aramaha, who enjoys within the self, tatha, and antah jyoti, vision is directed within, eva, certainly, ya, who, saha, that, yogi, brahma nirvanam, through realization of Brahmananda, the bliss of the spirit soul, emancipation from material existence, Brahma bhutaha, situated in transcendence, adhigacchati, he attains. A yogi who derives happiness exclusively from within the self, who delights only within the self, and whose vision is solely directed within the self, is situated in transcendence, Brahma. He attains the bliss of that transcendence in emancipation from material existence. Sarartha Varshin Tika. For those who are untouched by the conditions of the material world, the direct experience of absolute spirit, Brahma, is itself pleasurable. To explain this, Sri Bhagavan speaks this verse beginning with the words Yo anta. Those who achieve bliss within their inner self take pleasure only in the self, and thus their vision is focused within. How the previously mentioned strong urges of lust and greed can be easily and naturally be pacified is being explained here by Sri Bhagavan. By having experience of the self, such urges can be easily controlled. Yogis who experience happiness in their realization of the self, who take pleasure within the self, and whose vision is always focused on the nature of the self, take shelter of selflessly performing their prescribed duties. They attain the liberated platform, Brahma Bhuta. They eventually become established in their own eternal form and activities. Such yogis easily become indifferent to the mundane sensual activities of lust, greed, and so forth. And the joy they experience within the self is known as Brahma Nirvana, spiritual bliss. In Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's commentary on Gita 5.26, he says, a sannyasi who is free from lust and greed, who has control over the mind and who knows Atma Tattva, is very quickly attains full realization of Brahma Nirvana. After deliberating on real and unreal objects, one who worships Bhagavan by selflessly offering him the result of one's work, a Nishkam Karma Yogi situates himself with Brahma, the reality beyond material nature, even while living in the material world. Such a state which is free from material miseries is called Brahma Nirvana. Verse 25. Lavante Brahma Nirvanam Rushaya Kshina Kalmasha Chinna Dvaidha Yatatmana Sarvabhuta Hite Rata. Lavante, they achieve Brahma Nirvanam, the bliss of absolute spiritual emancipation. Rishayaha, persons inspired from within. Kshina are destroyed. Kalmashaha, sinful qualities. Chinna Dvaidha, one-pointed who are without doubts. Yata Atmanaha, who have self-controlled minds. Sarva Bhuta Hite, to the welfare of all living beings. Rataha, who are attached. Those saintly persons who are free from sin and doubt, who control their minds and who are attached to the welfare of all living entities, attain emancipation from material existence through realization of absolute spirit, Brahma. Many persons attain perfection by practice, sadhana siddha. To explain this, Shri Bhagavan speaks this verse beginning with the word Labante. Text 26. Kama krodha vimuktanam yatinam yatachetasam abhito brahma nirvanam vartate viditatmanam. Kama krodha, from lust and anger. Vimuktanam, who are liberated. Yatinam, for the ascetics. Yatachetasam, for those who have controlled their minds. Abhitaha, in every way. Brahma Nirvanam, extinguishing material life through spiritual realization. Vartate, takes place. Vidita Atmanam, for those who are well versed in the science of the soul. Those renunciants whose hearts are free from lust, anger, etc., who control their minds and who are well versed in the truth of the soul, completely extinguish material life through spiritual realization. How long will it take for those with knowledge of the self but bereft of knowledge of Paramatma to attain the happiness of Brahma Nirvana, the extinguishing of material life? Anticipating this question, Shri Bhagavan speaks this verse beginning with Kama Krodha. For one whose mind has become stable and whose subtle body has been destroyed, it does not take long to attain Brahma Nirvana in its full perfection. Text 27 and 28. Sparshan kritva bahirbahyams चक्षुषश्चैवान्तरे भ्रुवो प्राणापानौ समो कृत्वा नासाभ्यन्तरचारिणौ यतेन्द्रियमनो बुद्धिर्मुनिर्मोक्षपरायणा विगतेच्छा भयक्रोधो यतः यः सदा मुक्त एव सा स्पर्शान् कृत्वा बहिर्बाह्यांस् चक्षुषश्चैवान्तरे भ्रुवो प्राणापानौ समो कृत्वा नासाभ्यन्तरचारिणौ यतेन्द्रियमनोबुद्धिर्मुनिर्मोक्षपरायणा विगतेच्छा भयक्रोधो यः सदा मुक्त एव सा. Sparshan, sensual perception such as sound and touch. Krutva, having put. Bahi, outside. Bayan, external. Chakshuhu, the eyes, cha and eva, certainly, antare, between, bhruvo, the eyebrows, prana apano, the inward flowing and outward flowing life airs, samau, equal, krutva, having, focused, nasa abhyantara, charino, moving within the nostrils, yata, are controlled, indriya, senses, manaha, mind, buddhi and intelligence, munihi, sages, munihi, sage, moksha parayana, is dedicated to attaining liberation, vigata, freed, ichha bhaya krodha, from desire, fear and anger, yaha, who, sada, always, mukta, liberated, eva, certainly, saha, he who is free from desire, fear and anger completely removes external sense objects such as sound and touch from his mind. He then fixes his vision between his eyebrows and suspends the movement of the inward and outward flowing life airs which move through the nostrils. In this way, he balances the life airs, controls his senses, mind and intelligence, and dedicates himself to attaining liberation. Certainly, such a sage is ever liberated. In this way, by performing Nishkam Karma Yoga offered to Ishvara, the sadhaka achieves a pure heart. It is then that knowledge of the self, Tvam Padartha, appears. To gain knowledge of Tat Padartha, Brahma, one has to cultivate bhakti. Finally, one experiences Brahma, Shri Bhagavan, by transcendental knowledge, which is born from bhakti. But for one whose heart has been purified by Nishkam Karma Yoga, that is by communion with Bhagavan through selflessly offering him the fruits of one's work, the practice of the eightfold yoga process, Ashtanga Yoga, is considered superior to the practice of Jnana Yoga for the purpose of realizing Brahma. This is explained in the 6th chapter. Here Shri Bhagavan is speaking these 3 verses beginning with Sparshan as a sutra of the 6th chapter. Sparsha refers to that which is perceived by the external senses, touch, form, sound, taste and smell, all of which enter the mind. One should therefore drive them out of the mind and restrain the mind from running towards them. One should fix one's vision between the eyebrows. If a person completely closes the eyes, there is the possibility that he will fall asleep. And if he keeps them completely open, there is the possibility that he will be distracted by the objects of the senses. Thus, to ensure that neither occurs, one should keep the eyes half open and within the nostrils control the upward and downward movement of the upgoing and downgoing breath, thus balancing them. Those who control their senses in this way are to be considered liberated. Sarartha Varshini Prakashika Vritti. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur quotes Krishna as saying, "O Arjuna, the heart becomes purified only by Nishkam Karma Yoga in connection with me. After purifying the heart, one attains perfect knowledge or jnana. This is the means to attain Tat Padartha, the absolute truth. The experience of absolute truth or Brahma gradually develops by performing devotion to the Supreme Lord in perfect knowledge, Jnana Swarupa Bhakti. And by acquiring that knowledge that is beyond the 3 modes of material nature, I explained this to you previously. Now for one whose heart has been purified, I will explain Ashtanga Yoga as the means to realize Brahma, the absolute spirit. I am presenting statements just to give an idea of this. Please listen. The external forms of sound, touch, form, taste and smell are to be completely removed from the mind. This practice is called Pratyahar. While practicing control of the mind in this way, fix the eyes between the eyebrows and look at the tip of the nose. By completely closing the eyes, there is the possibility of falling asleep. And by completely keeping them open, there is the possibility of being distracted by external objects. One should therefore control the eyes by keeping them half closed in such a way that one's vision falls between the eyebrows onto the tip of the nose. Breathing through the nostrils, one should regulate the upgoing breath and the downgoing breath so that the upward and downward movement is balanced. Sages aiming at liberation or mukti thus seat themselves in this way, controlling the senses. mind, and intelligence, and give up desire, fear, and anger with the aim of realizing Brahma. In this way, they can attain complete deliverance from material bondage. Thus, as part of the practice of Nishkam Karma Yoga, its limb Ashtanga Yoga can also be practiced. Text 29. Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram Srudam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shanti mruchati. Bhoktaram, the enjoyer. Yajna tapasam, of sacrifices and austerities. Sarvaloka, of all worlds. Mahaishwaram, the supreme controller. Surudam, the friend. Sarvabhutanam, of all living beings. Gyatva, having understood. Mam, may. Shantim, peace through liberation. Ruchati, attains. He who knows me to be the enjoyer of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme controller of all planets, and the well-wishing friend of all living entities, attains liberation from bondage to material identification. Like the Jnani who cultivates transcendental knowledge, such a yogi also achieves liberation by attaining knowledge of the super soul, which appears through bhakti. This is stated in this verse beginning with Bhoktaram. In Bhagavad Gita it is said, I am the enjoyer of both the sacrifice performed by the fruitive worker and austerities performed by the Jnani. I am the worshipable object of karmis, Jnanis and yogis. I am the internal witness and I am the only supreme controller of all the planets. I am the well-wisher of all living entities because I mercifully bestow instructions on bhakti upon them through my devotees. For this reason, know me to be the devotee's worshipable object also. Since I am transcendental to the material modes of material nature, it is not possible to realize me by knowledge of the mode of goodness. In Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 14th chapter, text 21, I declared, Bhaktyaham ekaya graya, I am achieved only through bhakti. Only through Nirguna Bhakti can the yogis realize my partial aspect, Paramatma, as their worshipable object and attain peace or liberation. Jnanis and Karma Yogis attain knowledge of both the Jivatma and Paramatma by selflessly offering the fruit of their endeavor to the Supreme. In this way, they attain liberation. This is the essence of this chapter. Thus ends the Bhavanuvada of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's Sarartha Varshi Tika, the commentary that gives pleasure to the devotees and is accepted by all saintly persons on the 5th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. The Nishkam Karma Yogis also achieve liberation by attaining knowledge of the Super Soul. This knowledge appears through bhakti. Shri Bhagavan is the sole enjoyer of articles offered with devotion when performing sacrifice and austerities. He as the indwelling super soul is indeed the worshipable object of the yogis, the well-wisher of all living entities, and the supreme controller of all planets. Tam Ishwaranam paramam maheshwaram, tam devatanam paramam chadaivatam, patim patinam paramam parastat, vidama devam bhuvaneshamidhyam. Sheta Shatarupanishad 6.7. We know our worshipable Lord, who is the master of the worlds, to be the supreme amongst all controllers, the supreme Lord of lords, and the supreme protector of those who can award protection. He is transcendental to impersonal Brahma. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, upon hearing the first 4 chapters, a doubt could arise if one attains liberation as a result of worshipping Bhagavan by selflessly offering him the fruits of one's prescribed duty, then what place does Jnana Yoga have and in what form does it manifest? The instructions in this chapter have been spoken to remove this doubt. Jnana Yoga, Sankhya Yoga and Nishkam Karma Yoga are non-different, for they share the same supreme goal, namely bhakti. In the initial stages of Nishkam Karma Yoga, the performance of prescribed action, karma, predominates over the development of transcendental knowledge, jnana. And in the final stage, Jnana Yoga, the development of such knowledge predominates over the prescribed action. By the jiva's constitutional nature, he is a pure conscious entity. When he desires to enjoy Maya, however, he becomes bound by inert matter, and as he identifies himself with matter, his constitutional position gradually becomes more covered. As long as this material body exists, material action is necessary. The only way for the conditioned soul to attain liberation is through a spiritual endeavor to revive his original constitutional state. During his journey within the material body, the predominance of karma becomes weakened to the degree that he endeavors to revive his original conscious state. Brahma Nirvana, the bliss of absolute spiritual emancipation, automatically appears while performing spiritual practices to develop equal vision, detachment, control over mundane lust and anger, and eradication of all doubts and so forth. While engaged in the practice of karma yoga, while maintaining one's body, one can simultaneously engage in the performance of Ashtanga yoga, which consists of the following 8 processes: yama, control of the senses; niyama, control of the mind; asana, sitting posture; pranayama, breath control; pratyahara, withdrawal of the senses; dharana, concentration; dhyana, meditation; and samadhi, trance. If one attains the association of a devotee, the bliss of devotion to Sri Bhagavan gradually manifests during the performance of such sadhana. This is called Mukti Purvika Shanti, everlasting peace that accompanies liberation. Here Mukti means being situated in one's own eternal form and nature. At that time, the tendency to perform pure bhajan illuminates the glory of the constitutional nature of the living entity. Thus ends the Sarartha Varshini Prakashika Vritti by Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj on the 5th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhescha krupa sindhubheva cha paritanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.